This podcast is not a replacement for therapy. All conversations, guests, tips, recommendations, etc. that are discussed are provided as educational, thought-provoking, inspirational insights, and not specific professional therapeutic or psychiatric advice. Our views expressed are our own personal experiences, insights, and perspectives. Information heard here is to be used at your own caution and discretion. As always, please seek out your own mental and medical health care to best serve you. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey, we're doing this back to back. It's good to see you after a week.
To see you, cuz, as always.
We are in the midst of September, which is Suicide Prevention Month. Yeah. And so we wanted to revisit this topic briefly because it affects or impacts a wide variety of people, whether you know someone who has attempted or completed. So really, this topic still tends to be somewhat taboo, and there's a stigma around talking plainly and getting help because it's an uncomfortable topic for anyone to handle, whether it's a family member, friend, or even mental health professional. So just to start off, Lifeline's text line resources, 988 is a suicide and crisis lifeline. You can also text home to 741-741 to connect with the volunteer crisis counselor. And this is a national crisis line that is supported by the National Alliance on Mental Health. Anyway, the other thing the reason why we talk about this is because this is one of the top causes for death among young people, but it goes all the way up until middle age. But even from 10 years old to adolescence, it's the second cause of death. So this is something that's pretty serious, but yet we're always shocked that this isn't something that is commonly talked about. It's not everywhere. There's not much awareness, and there's still a lot of shame attached to it. One thing that popped up this past week, and before we talked about this, Alaska, Montana, Wyoming are some of the 3 top states with the highest rates of suicide. This tends to be because there's isolation and they have the means and opportunity to carry it out. Something that had popped up in headlines because it tends to be men who are more are able to complete suicide. Because of firearms, Montana was looking into temporary storage of firearms so that when somebody is going through a mental health crisis, they won't lose access to guns permanently, but can make their home safe, which is something that as mental health professionals, when we're screening and doing assessments, the recommendations are, do people have means? Whether it is pharmaceuticals, whether it is firearms, it's what do people have access to when they're experiencing a mental health crisis. Yes. So if we want, let's talk about a few of the risk factors. A lot of it, number one, is hopelessness. Dee, do you want to jump in?
The risk factors?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you've attempted suicide before, if they've attempted suicide before, huge risk factor, right? Experiencing like a stressful life event, grief or loss of a loved one, sometimes military service, a breakup, financial or legal problems. Those are all risk factors. Having a substance abuse problem, alcohol or drug abuse tends to worsen the thoughts of suicide, may make you feel like reckless, impulsive enough to actually act on your thoughts. Having suicidal thoughts and also like having access to firearms in your home, huge risk factor. Having like an underlying mental health disorder like severe depression, PTSD, which post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar disorder, having a family history of mental health disorders like substance abuse, suicide, or violence, physical or sexual abuse, having a medical condition that can be linked to depression and suicidal thinking, like a chronic disease, chronic pain, terminal illness. So those are like the major risk factors. I will say that I wholeheartedly agree with all of those. That was from the Mayo Clinic. But the first one that they listed was attempted suicide before. As a parent, I feel like, I must reiterate the importance of this because I have seen so many parents, they get upset, they're scared, they're worried that, their child attempted suicide. They're just so happy their child's alive, right? And, they may not be all that experienced with mental health. And so, all they're listening to is what their child is telling them. I'm fine. I'm fine now. I just want to go home. I just want to be with you guys. The doctor in the hospital is saying, no, they need to go inpatient or they need to, see someone. The parent is just like, no, I just don't. They're happy. They're fine. I don't know why they did this. Maybe it's a plea for help, and then I see them go home and attempt again. Sometimes they don't come back from that. That's the end. So I'm speaking to all the parents out there, take it seriously. If your child not just attempted suicide before, but if your child is talking about suicide, take it seriously. Please don't think, oh, they're just talking, they're young, they don't know what they're saying, oh, they're happy, they're fine. Take it seriously because there are a lot of parents out there who wish they had.
There are some warning signs that you can look for. Increased alcohol and drug use, aggressive behavior, withdrawal from friends, family, and community, dramatic mood swings, impulsive or reckless behavior. And I want to kind of highlight the dramatic mood swings, especially if you feel like they've been struggling a long time. There can almost be this sense of elation if you're feeling like, oh, all of a sudden my child is happy and engaging and like feeling like all of a sudden they're back to normal. That still doesn't mean that they're out of the woods. Things to look out for are collecting and saving pills or buying a weapon, giving away possessions, organizing things. I mean, and this is for like tying up loose ends. Also being really kind and saying goodbye to friends or family. So if there's any uncertainty, please reach out to a licensed mental health professional who can help assess, or a primary care physician if you don't have a therapist, all of those things. Some of the support that you can offer. There are multiple ways to approach a suicide-related crisis. Talking openly and honestly, even though it's a scary topic to broach, don't be afraid to ask clear questions like, do you have a plan for how you would kill yourself? Removing means such as guns, knives, or stockpiled pills. Calmly asking simple and direct questions. If there are multiple people around, not overwhelming them. Having one person speak to them at a time. It's also important to kind of try to remain neutral and calm and not to argue or threaten to raise your voice, and also not debate about whether or not suicide is right or wrong. Sometimes, in general, people can have values on whether or not it's right or wrong, but at this time, a person who is contemplating that is really looking for a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And in order to alleviate that stress, they think it's worth it. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, that covers it.
Okay.
I do want to say, or ask you, have you ever seen the movie The Sun?
I don't know. Tell me about it.
Oh gosh, the dude that plays Wolverine, my favorite, Hugh Jackman.
I haven't seen it.
Please watch that. Oh my goodness, that was like heartstrings, sad. It really made me think as a mental health professional, but also as a mom. That it was like one of those big examples of what I was talking about concerning not listening to your child when they tell you that they're okay when they have tried to harm themselves. Like, I won't give the movie away, but it is a movie about suicide and depression. I feel like a lot of parents, they there's divorce, right? There's grief and loss. There's bullying, and kids, I think that as parents, like, sometimes you kind of underestimate because you compare like yourself to them in a sense of like, well, I have all these problems. I've gone through this, gone through that. I'm fine, and like, you don't think, okay, my 14-year-old has gone through, his parents breaking up. He's gone through some bullying at school. Your first thought is not, oh, could they be depressed? But absolutely they could. And could that lead to suicide? Absolutely. Severe depression brings about suicidal ideations. And sometimes even the child doesn't understand, that they're feeling that way. So ask questions, check in with your kids consistently. How are you feeling? We just lost grandpa. It's okay to talk about your feelings. Are you sad? Do you really miss him? I know you two were close. Whatever have you. Like, don't be afraid. Like Jennifer was saying, like, please don't be afraid to talk about it. Suicide is not a naughty word. Don't shy away from having those hard discussions with your children.
Also, what I appreciate about what you're saying is listening to your kids, even when you're not asking them questions. People have a way of dealing with stress, and they have an inner voice or how they talk to themselves, and they might talk out loud,
Yes.
where they're giving cues about indirect threats, where, when they say, like, I wish I could fall asleep and never wake up, or I hate my life, I hate everyone and everything, or nobody can help me, or I'm no good to anyone, or, just responding in the way of like, if somebody doesn't leave me alone, I'll kill myself.
Mm-hmm.
Any of these things.
No one wants to play with me at school. I just want to die.
Yeah. Hopelessness is one of the highest causes or predictive factors for attempting suicide. And so there are cues, and it's a challenging thing. And sometimes we take things, I know as therapists, I think we talked about this before, and counselors, we take negative talk too seriously, where, you know, I think your kid was like, oh, I can't find something. I want to kill myself. And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's stop and unpack this, because it's a very serious
Not a
statement.
lighthearted term to use if you're not feeling it.
Yeah. And it's natural for kids to go to extremes even under the age of 10. And there are times when they may not understand the meaning of death or the permanence of it as an older person would. But that doesn't mean that you have to react like, don't say that, but more along the lines of, well, what do you mean by kill yourself? What does that mean to you? Having that curiosity.
Yeah. And like also not just like when I was faced with a situation where my oldest, he's 15, well, he's 14 at the time, came to me. It's like 1 a.m. in the morning. And he's just like, you know, Mom, like I'm worried about my friend. He just messaged in the group chat that he wants to kill himself. He wants to die and he's not responding. And of course, as a therapist, I take that very seriously. My kid, you know, as the kid of a therapist, took it very seriously. So he's like, you know, telling his friend, I need you to tell me like what's going on. Like, are you messing around with me, whatever? And the kid kept saying like, no, I'm not messing around. Like, y'all not going to see me at school tomorrow. Like, I'm done. I'm just so tired of everything. And at the time I was like, I know like his parents argue. I know that takes a toll, type of thing. So I'm thinking, hey, this is important. But I also was thinking it's 1 a.m. in the morning, it was a tough call because then his friend comes back with, oh, I'm just kidding. Like, I'm not going to do anything to myself. And then my kid was like, you don't play around with things like that. And I asked him, I was like, I don't want to cause a problem between you and your friend. But if he's not kidding and he's just saying he's kidding and then his parents wake up and he's done something to himself, I couldn't live with myself. So I know it's 1 a.m., but I have to reach out and at least tell them something,
Absolutely. And your son wouldn't be able to live with himself either.
Oh, and I was shocked, but he was just like, absolutely, Mommy, say something. Like, tell them, whatever, which I did. And they were just, he didn't do anything to himself, but I was just like, again, you just don't know. You cannot take it for granted, because, and I think another one of his friends like has bipolar. So he's very aware. He takes it very seriously if someone's saying they're going to harm themselves. So, the point of that is, I think it's also important to talk to your kids about, these things, because what if their friends are, depressed and talking about suicide? Then you would want your child to come to you and say, hey, such and such is talking about, so you can reach out to their parents and let them know. It's a community effort, right?
It is. And it's a protective factor for the whole community. For the child who's feeling that stress, for the parents, for everyone around them. So how do you talk to your kids? What was your secret to having them be on alert?
I wish there was a secret. My kids just get tired of me talking about things. I talk about everything. Sometimes it's a fell swoop. I'm like, hey, don't let anybody touch your penis. What is your butt? I'm sorry, y'all out there, but like, I'm just,
So what's your checklist, Dee? What's your checklist?
Checklist is like protecting them against bullying, protecting them against gun violence. So I'm like, especially with my 8-year-old, because my older two have heard it enough. I'm like, okay, what do you do if you're over a friend's house and they're like, hey, check out my mom's gun or my dad's gun? What do you do? Tell me what to do. Okay, what do you do if you go over there and they already have the gun out? What do you do? So of course the answer is always run away, run out of the house. I said get as far away from a shiny metal thing that you may even deem as a handgun quickly as possible. Of course the stranger talk, like don't talk to strangers. Don't, if someone comes up and we have a code word. I won't say the code word on the podcast, but we have a code word. Like if someone
it's pineapple, isn't it?
No. You're naughty. So like they know, hey, if someone says your mom told me to pick you up, what's the code word? If you're not telling me the code word, you can deuces because my mama told me, so just all of those talks, like, because again, all the things that I hear in my everyday, but my kids, they probably get tired of me talking about it, but they can never say, my mom never talked to me about it. My mom never talked to me about abuse, sexual abuse. My mom never talked to me about rape. Because I talk to them about, as boys, if a girl says no, she means no. Don't proceed any further. I talk to them about boundaries. Don't touch anybody unless you have permission to touch them. I just feel like if every single one of us as a collective whole did this, but I feel like some parents are afraid to have talks with kids because they're afraid to put things in their head. They're like, well, what if they're not even thinking about that? Well, yeah, they are. Trust me. They're friends.
I mean, have we ever talked about consent?
I don't think
we
so.
have a future podcast because it goes both ways. A guy's no means no as well.
Absolutely.
And
boundaries.
And that's people violate or cross because they're like, I'm just joking. But
exactly.
All right, we're going.
Sorry,
that's fine. We're going off topic.
Yeah, but
that's awesome. All I'm hearing is that you're a super mom.
No.
You can post a checklist.
I wish. Please, my kids are still going to be in therapy talking about what a horrible mom I was. That's just how kids do. They do. Like, I don't care how many times my kids are like, Mom, you're the best mom ever. I love you so much. I'm like, let's see when you turn 30. What are you going to be telling your therapist? Like, it's always something. We could never, that's why we have to just, just do the best you can. There's no such thing as a perfect parent or, our perfect kid, obviously, but as far as like,
but it's awesome. It's awesome that your son was sensitive and takes it seriously because like some people would say, I'm just joking. Why are you taking it so seriously? But a threat to yourself or a threat to someone else, like flat out, I take everything seriously.
Absolutely.
Does that make me gullible? No, it's whether it's a lie or not. We are going to go through this together and explore. Like this thought didn't just come out of nowhere.
Absolutely. And I was also proud of him for having a discussion with him later and telling him that like we joke around, we prank each other all the time, but that's something we won't do. And he was like, don't ever do that to me again or you're going to lose me as a friend. And I was like, wow. Like, okay. Isn't it wonderful?
Surprise!
Like as kids get older, it's beautiful to see them blossom and really absorb what you feed them, what you tell them. I can't remember. Can you say one more time? What did you say the numbers were for the crisis line, the suicide line?
Sure. Thank you. You're reading my mind. I was going to close with that. But also before I go into that, another reason why we're bringing this up is because suicide continues to go up since 2008. The numbers are steadily increasing. And whether it's because of mental illness, whether it's from economic stressors, whether it's from chronic stress, it's a serious issue. And let's not even forget about the pandemic, where there was a lot of isolation. And social media,
oh my goodness,
where people have a distortion of reality. But so these are all factors. And so this is something that I will never tire of talking about. But the crisis line 988, or you can text home to 741-741. This is a huge topic to handle for anyone, whether you're dealing with a family member or a friend or yourself. Even if it feels like you're alone, there is help out there.
Absolutely. Let go of the stigma, the fear, the worry behind saying anything. I think that also some people are like, I don't want people to think I'm crazy, or I don't want people to send me to inpatient. You know what? Maybe that's exactly what you need to help you get back on track. Yeah, there are some inpatient facilities that can be a bit traumatic, but do your research. Figure out, hey, do I really need help? Do I need to go in somewhere? Do I need to get on medication? Or do I need to see a therapist? Your life, we get one. We get one life, right?
Absolutely.
Don't want to waste it. Ooh, there's also so have you heard of I think it's is it semicolon? Have you seen that?
Let me look it up.
Yeah, I want to get a tattoo with a semicolon body with a butterfly
Aww,
on it.
I see it.
Oh,
I see it.
You've seen it?
I'm Googling it. No, I'm just Googling it right now. That's beautiful. I see the butterfly one too.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there who have the semicolon tattoo, and it's just it is in support of, it's either survivors of suicide, or it's in support of people who have lost someone to suicide. They tend to get semicolon tattoos, and it's supposed to signify hope and optimism.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there was something, I can't think of it right now, but it was because the meaning of semicolon is there's more. Do you know what I mean? There's a sentence, and then there's a semicolon, and then I'm not making this up.
No, I see. Well, I'm looking at it, and this is just from a tattoo studio where the semicolon tattoo means someone's overcome some sort of hardship in their life.
Yeah.
Whether they're battling depression, anxiety, addiction,
mm-hmm.
and other, mental health issues. But it looks beautiful. I'm looking at these, and some of them are embedded in flowers.
Yeah.
Or plants.
But the main thing is mental health awareness and suicide prevention. And a lot of people get the semicolon because it's you're basically saying, that wasn't the end of me. Yes, that was it. That's what I read. That's what I kept saying, was that, a period signifies the end of a sentence, right? Semicolon signifies that there's another sentence coming after the sentence before it, right? So it's just there's more. Even though we may have this thought that life is really hard, I'm overwhelmed, I'm sad, what is the point of everything? You just feel like everything's weighing on you. It's the semicolon is a reminder that there is more, there's better after this. You just got to get past this part, right? Get past this part, then there's more behind it. I love it so much. I wonder if there's a way I can put it in the...
There's Project Semicolon.
Oh.
That was started by Amy Blewell.
Project Semicolon. Oh, a Project, a mental health organization.
And she said, my story isn't over.
Yes, that's what I was trying to. Thank you, guys. That's what I was trying to say that I read. My story isn't over. This is not the end. It's not a period, right? Oh, this is perfect. Why the semicolon tattoo resonates with millions of people all over the world. Why mental illness, semicolon tattoo, suicide. Yes, I'm gonna put this on the thing for everybody to be able to see. I'm so glad I remembered to bring that up.
Yay, I'm glad you did too.
Yeah, that's because it's not just people who have survived, it's also people who know, who have been affected by suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Because, when someone takes their life, everybody in their life is affected by this.
Absolutely.
The loss is felt, and people not in their lives. I don't think people realize that sometimes, like, you affect plenty of people around you.
Even people that were mean to you, anyone that you've come into contact with.
Mm-hmm.
And, being a part of a crisis response team. And that's a whole nother story with people grieving and the amount of grief and the drama that comes where it's like, why is this person grieving?
Mm-hmm.
Versus someone else. So once again,
what's the numbers again, cuz?
988 and 741-741. So
and
we
also,
will close with that. You can call or text 988 or chat on 988lifeline.org to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline.
And if you feel weird about calling, well, first of all, just so you know, the crisis hotlines, lifelines, they are anonymous. So if you're feeling bad, no one's going to call your mom and be like, oh, they called the crisis line. No, it's anonymous.
So you can call yourself.
Yes, you can call and say whatever you need to say.
And they're professionals who have been trained.
Mm-hmm. And I can attest because I worked at one for like 2 years, and it was like, we get trained really, really well to deal with. I mean, it's not just suicide that calls the line. It's, a lot of different people that just need someone to listen to them. You're feeling depressed, you can still call that line. Oops, I pushed us to 30 minutes. I'm so sorry.
Shame on you. No, okay. I appreciate you. I'm so glad you did. We're going to close it out for now until the next time.
Thank you for bringing this topic to the public, cuz. And please remember, it's Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, all month long. Talk to you soon, cuz. Bye.